Live as well. Hi, Riley and Kaden, is that right? And Easton. Oh wait, let's admit person before saying hi. Okay. So we have Riley and Kaden joining us, and Babcock. Is that right? Or are you logged in as under maybe like a parent?
Easton, come on.
Or anything. And Heather. Come on. Trying to admit.
Okay. Hey, Candy and Tara, are you guys can help, you guys have mute access, right? Where you can mute people?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I'm going to try and keep up on it, but sometimes it's not possible.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot to wrangle. And do we have folks joining us on Facebook Live yet? Or?
That is,
oh God, that's got to be tough.
Let's see if I can get to this is the first time where I'm doing both with Zoom and Facebook without somebody else here. So we'll see how
it goes.
On it. Yeah.
Are you on one computer for that?
I am one computer and I'm on a laptop, so I don't even have like multiple screens. So we'll see.
Oh. So, speaking of superheroes, that's amazing. That's a lot to juggle.
Oh, man. Huh. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go grab my dog for a second because it looks like she went back to bed, but she's really old, so she can't really lay down by herself very well. So just a second.
Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see. Live in 2 minutes. That's what it says on Facebook anyway. We'll see how that goes. Live in 2 minutes. That's what it says on Facebook anyway. We'll see how that goes. Whoa. Can you guys hear me when I do that?
Yeah, I heard it twice.
Okay, that's what I was just wondering. Good thing I tested that. Live in 2 minutes. Oh my God. Okay, now it's repeating. Okay, I'm going to close what it says on Facebook anyway. Ooh. Okay.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I love Twitch will do that.
Okay.
Have this infinite echo going forever. You're like, no. And you guys can see the Camp Half-Blood Nerd Out graphic right now, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
I don't know who does your graphic design, but I love that so much.
Oh, thank you. I did it, and it's a Canva special, so there you go.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Great. Oh, there's a few more people trickling on.
Oh, you got them.
All right, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started with our introduction stuff. My name is Miss Tara. I'm a teacher for Pop Culture Classroom. I'm also a comic book artist and a big old nerd.
And I'm Candy. I'm an instructor at Pop Culture Classroom, and then I also work in libraries, and I'm also a big old nerd.
Yep, we are definitely nerd crew too. So we are gonna nerd out today and talk about Percy Jackson and Greek mythology and all that good stuff. So let's start a little bit with a refresher on who our Greek gods are. Give me a second, I'm trying to get the chat window so I can see there we go. All right, so I'm going to do a brief rundown of the Greek gods. Some of these are important figures in Percy Jackson, some less so, but we have Zeus, the head of the Greek pantheon. Most of these people are his kids or his family members. We have Hera, his wife. She is usually very jealous, and there's a lot of relationship drama between her and Zeus. We have Ares, the god of war, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, Dionysius, the god of drink and party, Demeter, the goddess of the hearth and the house, so like harvests and making sure your house was safe. Hephaestus, who was a forger. Athena, who is the goddess of wisdom. Hermes, who is the god of medicine. Is that right? Sounds like I have an expert in the crowd. Feel free to correct me. I'm doing these off my memory.
I'm not sure that's right. Let me check my cheat sheet.
Hermes is the god of thievery.
Thievery.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Persephone is the goddess of spring and the wife of Hades. Poseidon is the god of the ocean. Very important to Percy Jackson, right? Artemis is the goddess of the moon and the hunt. Hades is the god of the underworld. And as in Percy Jackson, really important to note, Hades is not an evil figure. In our kind of culture, a lot of times we think of the god of death as like the devil and bad. Hades is neutral. He's not necessarily good either. He's not inherently a bad person. He just tends to the dead, as death is a natural part of life. And then the last one is Apollo, the god of the sun. So that is the main group of pantheons. Now, the cool thing about Greek mythology is there are a lot of them. Like this is the core group, and this is where a lot of Percy Jackson's characters are coming from. But if this is something that interests you, there is so much folklore. There's so much stories between these. Like one of my favorite that is not even touched in these is Cupid and Psyche. So Cupid is Aphrodite's son, and he is not a little fat baby like we think of Cupid now. He is a very handsome man, and he falls in love with Psyche, and his mom has a lot of feelings about that as the goddess of love. And I won't spoil the rest of the story, but that's one of my favorites. So if you enjoy these Percy Jackson, there's so many places for this to go, and that's one of the reasons Percy Jackson is such a strong story is that he understands and respects the power of these stories. So we want you guys to kind of start thinking about what we are. I'm going to pass it over to Candy, and our first activity, you are going to make your own child of the pantheon.
Hang on, I'm being summoned. Just to get my dog stuck.
Okay. So,
but who would you want as a parent? I think first question, and then we're going to go to character development.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be a demigod,
which god would you want to be your parent? And you don't, if you are sitting there going, well, I am a Greek mythology buff, and I know that I want my parent to be, oh my gosh, I can't think, Cupid instead of Aphrodite. That is okay too. You don't have to limit yourself to these guys here. but I want you to take a minute and just imagine if you were at Camp Half-Blood, who would you want your parent to be? You can either think of it in the context of the book, like, I want to be Percy's sister. So that's, or you can think of it as if it was a fresh set and you were just clear, you get to pick who you are. The other characters aren't your siblings or anything like that. So think about, if you were to be at Camp Half-Blood, who would you want your parent to be? And why? And let's see, I personally, man, see, it's really hard because when you think about these legends, a lot of these people, they were really dramatic. They were like, their lives were like big soap operas. So I'm thinking, like, whose soap opera life do I want to get into? I think Artemis would be really interesting to be the kid of. Or Demeter. I mean, Persephone's story is really interesting, goes a specific way, but I feel like being the sister there would not be like a bad situation. I mean, you'd just be like, all right, sister's drama over here, and I get to do my own thing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Candy and mute my mic.
Sorry, can you hear me? I thought I was already unmuted. Yes, okay. Yeah, I was going to say Artemis for mine because I know when I was growing up, definitely I didn't really feel like, and it's a little bit better now, but maybe not all the way better, that there weren't really strong female role models. And so right away when I started learning about mythology, probably about the age that y'all are at, I was just so drawn to her as a strong woman, and she's so athletic and the hunting. So I just found that really, really inspiring. So I think that's who I would want as my parent. And then do we have any other answers? You can unmute or type it in the chat, whatever you like best. Anybody want to go? Or you think of somebody that that you'd like to have?
I would like to have Poseidon as a father,
Nice.
because I like anything ocean.
That's a great reason. Yeah. What about, is Eden with you as well? Was that Morgan or Eden?
I'm Eden. My sister's over there.
Oh, okay. Who else?
I would like to be a son of Hecate.
Yeah. And how come? Or do you have a reason why for Riley and Caden?
So I could do magic stuff and
Nice.
control the mist.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a good one. And did we have another answer from you two? What about in the blue shirt?
Probably.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Anybody else want to chime in?
I'm Haley. I'm the librarian here at Loveland Public Library. I'm so happy to see so many people on our event, just to say that first off. And I would love to be Athena's daughter. I think I would be very much like Annabeth. I would love that. I think yeah, I just loved her character and her story. So that is who I would be.
Cool. All right. Anybody else think of somebody?
Maybe I would be a daughter of Aphrodite or Athena. Maybe.
And how come? Did you have a reason why you're drawn to those characters or those gods?
I don't know.
Yeah. You just like them because you like them. That can be a good enough reason as well. Nice. Anybody else? Anybody we didn't hear from yet? And you don't have to share if you don't really feel like it, but it's nice to hear what you like about different characters and why, different gods and why. Anybody else want to chime in? All right, so if nobody else wants to add, I think we'll go ahead over. Tara, can we switch over to the next slide? Okay. So next we're going to kind of talk about character development. So like if we were writing these books, or if you were writing a comic or a story, we're going to go through a little bit of the steps of how you create your own character. So first of all, and you can either start with the basis of like, if we modeled it after Percy Jackson, where you find out that you're a demigod and the kid of a parent who is a god. So you can do it like that, or we can just start fresh as well. So like, what would your name be? What would your character's name be? And then who would your friends be? So Percy Jackson and at Camp Half-Blood, he makes a lot of friends who help him out along the way. Sometimes we call it the hero's journey, which is kind of like a storytelling method that a lot of, or most stories follow. And that's kind of something to look up for in a class. But so who are your friends going to be? Like, would you want some friends from in the books? Would you want to create your own? So take a couple minutes and think about that. Would you have a name? How are you going to come up with your name? And then who are your friends going to be? Who's going to help you along the way? Because we notice in these stories and also in mythology that you know, you can't really go it alone. You need friends and allies who are going to help you along the way and help you with, you know, battles and challenges. It looks like Tara's ready to say something, maybe.
I was going to say, so we're saying like think about it, but I personally creatively find it very useful to grab a sketch pad and write this stuff down.
Yeah.
Just because you're going to be working with it for a couple minutes, and like hopefully you'll enjoy the character you make. You might want to do something with them later in the future. So it would be worth probably grabbing a scratch pad and making a couple little notes too, like what's my character's names? Who do they hang out with? You don't have to like make a little worksheet or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point.
Oh, just another tip for
Haley?
you too. I brought with me to this, I brought some of my Rick Riordan books. And so the graphic novels and some of the like supplementary Demigod Diaries, if you have any of those at home, you guys can look through those and see, oh yeah, remember that character in book 2 or whatever? I really like that one. So it might help you think of all the possibilities, or at least some of the possibilities.
Nice, thanks, Haley. And I've got some of the books here too. Got the guide, which is really useful. Kind of, I sometimes forget a little bit what happened, who's who, and then that one. But yeah, if you want to write down those steps, these are really great. We kind of, when we do teach about storytelling and creating comics, or just creating stories and new myths, we kind of go through these steps every time because these are kind of the basics of writing and drawing. You need to go through these every single time in storytelling. So that's what we're doing, is kind of starting with the basics. So if you did want to write down these questions, this is great for anything else you're working on in the future. And did anybody come up with stuff that they might want to share right now about a character name and who your friends might be? And again, you can put it in the chat or you can unmute and chime in. All right, and Easton says he has 2 Hercules books. Or somebody logged in at Easton. All right, anybody else want to share? And sometimes this is hard stuff to do on the spot, like, you know, authors spend years writing books. So what we're doing is kind of going through it as an exercise. So Riley and Kaden, did you have something you wanted to add on this step?
I'm Riley. I would, one of my friends would probably be Hazel,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the 7 on the quest.
Nice. Riley, can I ask you one more question? How would Hazel help you along the way, do you think?
Well, because she's been practicing magic from her Kate and trying to control the mist, so she'd probably help me. And like just as a like as an example, like when Skyron kicked Jason, Hazel made it where it looked like he actually fell into the turtle's mouth.
Great. All right. Anybody else want to share? And it looks like maybe Morgan and Eden wanted to say something. And can you unmute? Or if I can. Okay. Well, Tara says if you're not reading the chat that she would want her character to be the kids of Dean, right? A lesser moon goddess. All right, Morgan and Eden, did you have an answer you wanted to share with everybody?
I would say if my friends would probably be my siblings. So.
And how would they help you in the challenges you face? Like what kind of strengths would they that would help you?
Well, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Dad, quick. It would depend. I am not that. I don't know how to explain it.
It's one of the things that's kind of hard to think through on the spot for sure, but sometimes future storytelling is something to think through. And Riley, did you want to join to add? You pop back up on the screen. Oh, okay. All right. If we don't have anybody else, we'll move along to. Oh, and let's see. Tara says less pressure than Artemis and more sleeping in. If they're the kids of Celine, the moon goddess. All right, and can we go to the next slide, or did we already? Let's see. Yeah. All right, so the next part in like a character development, as you're thinking about what kind of story you might write, would be what are your tools and powers? So you got to think a little bit about like if you were doing it like Percy Jackson and you demigod, so would you have like inherited powers from your parents? Would you have your own special powers? And then what kind of tools are going to help you with those powers?
And
then, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say one thing also to think about with tools and powers is stuff that isn't necessarily like magical too. Like, are they really good at martial arts? Like, that's going to help even if it's not a magical power. Are they really well read? That's going to help even if it didn't come from their parents. Like,
yeah, it doesn't have to be something that's only magical at all. So that's kind of the thing to think about. And it looks like we're having some chats about Leo Valdez in the chat box. So, and then, so we've got tools and powers, so something to think about for if you're creating your own character. And then another one is what are weaknesses? So when we're writing stories, you know, like one of Percy's weaknesses is his ADHD and dyslexia, which can also be a strength. But really, a story becomes like kind of boring if the hero or heroine is all powerful and has no weaknesses. So without weaknesses, there's not really anything to happen that can happen in the story, because you just, if you win every battle and you're always happy and nothing ever really challenges you, then you don't really need friends to help kind of balance out what your weaknesses are. And so it's kind of a sign of a well-rounded character that, sorry, I'm watching the chat too, that you have like good weaknesses, because there's things you want to overcome as kind of part of your journey. And it makes a character more layered and nuanced, because if you're all powerful, then there's nothing really to overcome or improve upon, and doesn't make for a very interesting story.
Morgan,
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, Tara, did you have anything to add about weaknesses?
It's very loud at our house. I would say, like, I would inherit my powers from my parents, but my weaknesses would probably be where whenever I win a battle, I lose strength, and whenever I lose a battle, I get more strength.
Oh, I love that, because I do think we gain a lot from losing, no matter how painful it is. Like, ultimately, what's ideal is when you do learn from losing. So, and really, when you win a battle, you should be drained. If you have, some humanity, or in a way that's a weakness, going through battle is going to tire you out. You can't go through a battle just eternally. You need some downtime to kind of recharge.
And
those are really great. I love those a lot.
And my tool would probably be like this necklace that has a trident on it.
Yeah.
And it can like it sort of like makes my powers a little stronger.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One thing to
think
about,
you see that sometimes in. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, one thing to think about with, especially with Greek gods, but like when you have super powered characters, and Greek gods are great examples about this. A lot of times they have powers that seem like they could solve every problem, but when you mix in their personalities, their character flaws, the things they face, like, you can't, for example, punch your way out of every problem, even if you're the best puncher on earth. Like, so like thinking about their weaknesses is a way to think about things that they have to challenge and overcome too, that they can't solve with those tools and powers. Like, you can contrast the two against each other to make, like Candy said, really interesting story beats.
That's another thing about the readability of a story, is that no matter what we're writing or reading about, all of us are human, and we do have weaknesses and flaws. And if we're reading about somebody who's perfect, we don't have a lot to relate to, and it's not very interesting to us. Looks like some chat about Grover. All right, anybody else want to share about their tools and powers or weaknesses? And I think we've got some more questions. Oh, Tara?
Go ahead, Heather.
Oh, Heather, can we mute you? Oh, there we go.
Powers would be maybe I could speak to animals.
You could do, was that speak to animals? Nice. All right, and then it looks like Daxter, or somebody logged in as Daxter, says, my power would be ice, but I would need water to make the ice, and my weakness is fire. Yeah, So that's a really good way to balance out your strength and your weakness. And oh yeah, a good power for Artemis's daughter. Yeah, that's a great point. All right, anybody else? I think we'll move to the next one.
I just wanted to say, I was just going to say, remember, if you remember from the books, Artemis has that, made that vow that she can never have romance, so she can't ever have a child.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So
that is something I was going to say. That is one of those places where you just get really creative. So like, for example, this is set in the modern world. Not everybody who has kids in a way that would break that vow. So those are the kind of things that when you run into that kind of thing, you get really creative and think out of the box to kind of work around. And just kind of make sure you follow the tone of your world. That with like Percy Jackson, you can use both modern technology and a little bit of magic. Whereas if it was Star Trek, you probably wouldn't want to use magic. And if it was like set in the 1800s, you probably wouldn't want to use science. So, but yeah, you can always think a way around these things when you're creating your own thing.
All right, so the last two things we're going to talk about, if you're going to create your own character or demigod, would be what would some influential events from your past be, and then who would your nemesis be? So your nemesis would be like your enemy, or a person who has something out for you, a person who really bugs you or gets on your nerves. Because that's another part of really good storytelling, is that there's got to be somebody out there who just really pushes your buttons. Or is, right, trying to bring you down. And then for influential events in your past, we're thinking about like basically what your backstory is. So usually when you read any story, you're not starting at the birth of your character, or even if you are, there's always some kind of background going on. But usually, we catch up to a character at where they are right now in their life, and then we go along on a journey with them forward, but they've got that backstory that kind of explains why they do what they do and what their motivations are. So that's one of the most important things to think about with character creation is why you do what you do. What are your motivations? What was it that happened in your past? If we look at like Percy's stepdad or his mom, how did that influence what happens to him in the future? And then also with nemesis, how that having a nemesis or some kind of enemy can be a motivating factor and really pushes along the story. All right, and it looks like we've got some comments going on. And we've got an enemy, a dragon, maybe Apollo as a nemesis. Python, Nero, Commodus. Any other ideas for your nemesis, enemy, or what kind of backstory you might have as a character that's gonna motivate your future actions? Well, we've got Frank's nemesis is the wood. Oh, Daxter said my brother's superpower is to shoot hamsters out of his hands, and his name would be Dr. Cat. That's amazing. I love that. Frank's could be death. All right, anybody else want to chime in? And again, these are all questions to think about over a long amount of time. We're just kind of going through it quickly as an exercise, just kind of the basic components of storytelling, and how you might choose a story. Oh, let's see. Nemesis are Hephaestus. I never know if I'm saying that right. The fire god and ice goddess. I also never know how to say that one. And their children to melt the chains. Riley's asking why Hephaestus. Yeah.
Very cool, guys.
And another thing to think about, sometimes it's kind of easy to pick a favorite, but then if you have a chance to think about like, who is your fit and why is it your favorite? Who's your least favorite character and why are they your least favorite character? Because sometimes if you find that you have a least favorite character, then that can kind of be a weakness in the storytelling. Like maybe, maybe that character isn't very well developed. Maybe it's not very believable. And you can take some things from that to learn and improve your own storytelling. See, Eden says because it could evaporate and die.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if a character doesn't leave an impression, if they bore you, if they annoy you, like if they take you out of the reading, looking at why that happens can help you as much as looking at why you enjoy good characters. Like,
yeah, and sometimes like if I want, whether it's movies, TV, comics, graphic novels, or regular book. There are so many things, and you might have heard it's called suspending your disbelief. There are a lot of things that can happen that where it's totally okay for it to be fantastic, and then other times it could be something fantastic, but it's still not believable. And I can't suspend my disbelief. I can't go along with the story because it got too cheesy or too unrealistic, even if it is something magical or fantasy. It's just not well done.
A really good example of that, no matter how you feel about the books, is the glittering in Twilight, the vampires glittering. A lot of people get hung up on that, and that I think is because it's, even in those books and the mood they set, it jars against the mood. And so that's why, like, we make a lot of jokes about it being ridiculous, but it's not so much that it's more or less inherently ridiculous than a person turning into a wolf. It's that it's a kind of ridiculous that doesn't fit in the story. So when you're reading this story about vampires and werewolf and this drama and you run into it, all of a sudden it's like somebody slammed on the brakes and you're like thrown out of the story when you think about it. So like that's the kind of thing you want to avoid. If you're making a Percy Jackson character, you want them to fit into the Percy Jackson world, not the Star Wars world. You don't want a Jedi in Percy Jackson, or someone who has Jedi like powers. You want them to have powers that match up with this kind of world.
That's a really great example. And you might not all be familiar with Twilight and how it had these vampires that glittered in the sunlight, but it's definitely something that people joke about every vampires or that book series comes up. So it might be that was kind of a failing of that author, that they came up with something that was just like a little bit too silly and kind of pulls you out of the story. So you want to avoid details like that where it just gets taken a little bit too far. And that's a really good way to look for that. What are the things that we kind of make fun of in these stories that we might otherwise love? But I'm going to turn it over to Tara because she's got an amazing exercise. And if you've got any other final words about character development?
I'm not. If anybody wants to pop up while I get my space ready, I got to open a couple things.
Or any other questions? See a little bit more chatting. Riley's on 13th book of Percy Jackson.
And I was just going to say that for you guys who are in the Loveland Library Summer Reading Program or Summer Learning Program, we have one of our prizes for Summer Learning Program this year. That
Camp Half-Blood t-shirt.
Totally, you can win your Camp Half-Blood t-shirt. So read and then you can be entered to win that drawing. So super cool.
Is there Camp Jupiter purple t-shirts?
No, we didn't get that this year, but I will write that down as a recommendation for future summer reading programs.
As you're talking and Tara's screen sharing, you're talking about prizes and this ferret pops up and I'm like, wait, would the library give away ferrets?
3 ferrets for everyone. No, you don't want that. I love ferrets, but you
have to
don't
read
want
a lot of books to get winners.
I love them, but they are very high maintenance pets.
I don't know if it's a strength or a weakness. I'm not really a fan of ferrets.
It is a weakness. Candy. No, they're very stinky. I love them. Well, because they're meat eaters.
I mean, maybe it's part of my backstory. Maybe I had a bad experience with ferrets. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of
Dexter wants a ferret. I actually do have a backstory. I had a ferret.
They are weasels.
Oh, I had a friend's ferret ate something of mine. So that's my backstory.
And weasels have a lot of folklore around them. All right.
True.
So, and I'm so sorry. Candy's going to watch the chat for me because for this, I'm going to be a little focused on my computer too, so I cannot be quite as responsive. But what we're going to talk about is we are going to talk about how to make mythical creatures from scratch, from your own. So maybe you guys remember in Percy Jackson when he runs into the Chimera, it is a lady's chihuahua that turns into this big monster. And the most traditional chimera that gets that name is, and this is kind of what the book has, although the book, as appropriately as we're about to talk about, kind of changes the description of it as it goes, but it is a lion with a goat's head kind of just stuck on somewhere, and then a snake for a tail. But what chimera really stands for is anytime you make something that's things squished together. So that's the most traditional chimera for the name, but also like a centaur would be a chimera, a mermaid would be a chimera, a hippogriff or a griffin. They're all chimeras. And they are all created by taking bits and pieces of things that already exist and combining them into ways that make something unique. And that is kind of what we're going to do today. So you can use this not just if you want to make a fantastical creature, it can also be used to make alien creatures, Pokemon, any kind of thing that doesn't exist. And this is a really good way to start because you know when you do this that these things exist. So as you're moving them around and exaggerating or adding or something, you're already working from a structure that like, you know, the physics of it exists. So it helps with what we were just talking about with the, you know, glittery vampires and stuff. It helps keep things to matching your world. And it also, because you get to choose the animals. So like I said, I'm making my character a daughter of Celine. And part of the reason why I said is so that she can sleep in. So I was like, if she had a pet chimera, what kind of animals make me think of like sleepy, nighttime, lazy, cute things? So I picked a moth, an armadillo, and a ferret. Now, there are some other animals that came to mind, like for example, a cat. The reason I didn't pick them is I want from my 3 animals to have a wide berth of different kind of features for me to steal from them. So, and feel free, I'm gonna pull up the chat so I can see it. Yep, Pokemon would be awesome with this. We're gonna start with a list that you guys can kind of steal from. And go ahead and yell out in the chat or anything if you have an idea of parts of an animal. It can be people too. And so we're using animals because of Percy Jackson, but like we talked about Pokemon a lot of times have parts that are not animals. They'll have like machines, magnets, lamps. So like in Percy Jackson, it makes the most sense for everything to be animal because we're talking about fantastical, natural, mythical creatures. But if you were making a alien creature on a planet where things were biomechanical, you could add in animals and machines or stuff like that. Yep, moon. That's what I was thinking. Moon kind of thing. And yeah, and you can also choose. So like, say you wanted to make a monstrous creature. Well, then your animals that you choose to pick from, and you don't have to do 3. You could do 1. There are some Pokemon that are just adaptations of 1, right? I would recommend 3 or more. But say you wanted to make something scary. Well, then you might want to take like a goblin shark and a grizzly bear and a scorpion and combine them. If you want something that's really, really cute, you might choose like a bunny rabbit and a baby chick and a gerbil. So like you want to think about what kind of new creature do you make, and you choose the animals that you're borrowing from and the things you're borrowing from because of that. All right. And let's say I keep using this term. Oh, okay, Candy.
Oh, maybe make a distinction. Like chimeras are all animal, right? Because in Percy Jackson do have some like creatures and monsters that have some animal parts, but also human parts. And so I think maybe we want to make that distinction. I think
chimeras can have human parts too. Like a mermaid, okay. Yeah, like a mermaid and a centaur can be kind of, well, so it's, some people use chimera for the umbrella term of any kind of mashup of multiple creatures, and then some people only use it for that lion, goat, serpent mashup. Oh my God, this ice squid with moth wings and antenna that breathes air. Wow. So thinking about things to borrow. And like I said, feel free to yell, to put any in the chat. Things like their eyes, limbs. Oh, I know why. Fur or skin or scales. Wings, feathers? Yeah. Noses or snouts. Teeth. Good, good. I think you guys have you got the vibe of this. Instruments with a lion. Oh my God, I love it.
That would be amazing.
One of my favorite creatures in Adventure Time is a tiny, tiny manticore. All right, so yeah, you guys got the idea. So you're gonna go through and you're gonna take all these creatures and you're gonna kind of steal things from them and mix them together in a way that you're not replicating the same thing over again, and you're not mashing, yes, tiny manticore, you're not mashing the whole thing up. So like, I don't want necessarily to have a whole armadillo, a whole ferret, and a whole moth in this huge, like, shoved together thing. So like I said, I want to go for cute. And so I think I want I'm going to steal the ferret's like kind of U-shaped body, but I want that longer armadillo tail. But it's still going to curl up in a ball. Although technically this kind of armadillo does not curl up in a ball. And have those big cute armadillo ears. But then I am gonna also, ooh, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna give it better than the ears. Let's make this even cuter. We're gonna give it these big moth. Oh my God, this is so cute. I want one right now.
Daxter's saying Adventure Time, and Riley's saying Pegasus. Love Pegasus.
Adventure Time. If you guys have not watched it, I don't know how, but it is a absolutely fabulous show.
I've never seen that.
You should definitely watch it. And I think it's not necessarily like Percy Jackson, but I think if you enjoy Percy Jackson, you will particularly enjoy it. Okay, this guy is also getting 6 legs like a moth, because that also seems really cute.
I wanted to ask a question. So when do you get the drawings for like the prizes and Loveland Public Library?
I will let our library liaison Haley answer that.
Yeah, a good question. I'll be really quick so that we can get back to the drawing. But the prize drawing will be at the end of the summer, so that'll be August 3rd, and we'll let winners know at that point. So you guys can keep entering tickets for every level you complete. Okay.
Nice. That sounds like an awesome prize too. And then of course, I'm going to give it the moth wings. That's the whole reason I chose the moth. Ta-da. All right, so now I have made something completely new and unique and mythical for my character to have. And I can make up its name, I can make up its activity, like how it lives, what it eats, how smart it is or isn't, but it still relates because of the animals I chose and because of how I chose to build it. It still relates to my character and the world she's in and the setting she's chosen. Like, she's a knight kind of demigod, so her animal is knight related and that sort of thing. So, ta-da! Let's see, how big do we think this thing should be? I think I think it's a girl. Maybe like that big? Like smaller than a ferret, but bigger than a moth. All right. So we've got about 10 minutes left. What animals would you guys combine to make a mythical familiar for your creatures? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Easton. I think I sent you a private message. Yeah, I think I just said tail privately to you. I'm sorry.
Haley says giraffe.
Giraffe. Oh my God, a house with wings. That reminds me of, what's the Baba, the chicken, the house with the chicken legs? What is that from Russian mythology?
I don't know that one.
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga, yeah, with her, her house with her chicken legs.
Thank you.
I meant a horse with wings, not a house.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that also makes sense too, since we're talking about Pegasus.
We got ice squid, moth, dolphin, dragonfly, and a chicken. Whoa.
Ooh. Especially like if you got like a really fancy chicken in there, like that could be a really pretty creature. Like those fancy like fluffy chickens. Oh, hamster, lion, mouse. I love it. It would be so cute.
Good.
I think that should also be like tiny manticore, like that big. Like that gif of the like mouse that's like screaming in the night, and they replace it with like
Griffin lion with wings, unicorn, yeti, and hydra. Oh my gosh.
The like ultimate mythical creature.
Haley's ring down. Yeah. Whoa. Sarah, can you draw one of these for us?
I was about to say, why don't we? Okay, so yeah, the first three that yell out, give me 3 animals. Let's make one for Percy. So like it would be watery. Okay, we've got cow. Okay. I'm definitely using cow.
Fish.
Fish. Do we want to do a specific kind of fish?
Well, What about a crawdad?
Crawdad? Oh, let's do, okay, so we got cow.
Or did you say
crawdad.
piranha? Or somebody, Haley said anglerfish, salmon. I would say blowfish.
Blowfish, salmon. Let's do, so we got cow.
Catfish.
Cow, catfish, and crawdad.
Ooh.
Because isn't he also from like the south? That's like he's from the Southwest too, right? Or not southern United States, right? So that's a really okay. So let me go get a picture of a cow, a crawdad, and a catfish. Oh my God, cows are so cute, guys. I love them so much. All right. Cow.
Ooh.
I was going to say while you were setting that up, that this summer you guys are, as you meet each of your levels for summer reading program, you guys get mythical creature body parts. I don't know if you remember that, but you can print them off at home and build your own mythical creature. So I think that this is totally cool.
You're breaking up.
All right. I feel like this should be very cute, but also very large. Like catfish and cows both get to be very large. I mean, a small cow is very exciting too, but.
Dexter says a manatee or yeah.
Oh, Amanda, I think we're gonna go with these ones, but a manatee would also be good.
No. I feel like manatees are already
Haley
fantastical.
Squire.
Hey.
So I think we're gonna do, let's do it like a,
Hello.
okay, let's do like a, you know how they have, it's gonna be like a hippocamp, but with like cow. So it's a very square hippocamp. And then with like the crawdad tail. This is just going to be like a southern hippocamp, I think. Americana hippocamp. I really like drawing like crawdads and lobsters and bugs and stuff because I really like how segmented and fun their bodies are to draw. Okay, and then I think it needs at least one pair of extra legs, right?
And Riley's asking for doing Percy Jackson stuff. I think we're actually coming up towards the end of our time.
Yeah.
But we should have.
I mean, like, are we going to do more of these videos after this video?
Oh, like not today, but are there going to be more
today? I see. So that's a question for Haley.
Yeah, good question, Riley. So we have other programs.
Are there more Percy Jackson programs?
Yeah, so we don't have any more Percy Jackson specific programs this summer, but I'll definitely take a note so that we can do some maybe more nerding out to Percy Jackson, because I think a lot of people love Rick Riordan's books. But we do have other virtual programs this summer that we're doing. We have one basically every week, so you can look at the library calendar. But we have next week, we're talking about Tall Tales, which should be super cool. And then we have telling fairy tales through music. Next in July, and then Myths of the Stars. So that one's actually kind of related. So we're going to look at constellations and Greek mythology with a NASA ambassador at the end of July. So definitely watch out for it. Should be fun.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We've got Percy's new hippocamp. So if you guys don't know, a hippocamp is a like horse mermaid, pretty much. So now we've got Percy has his own custom hippocamp that we made for him. That's cat, crawfish, and catfish.
And let's see, Daxter is saying that you are a good artist. So Tara is actually a professional artist.
I think it would be like, I think a person would be like this big.
Oh yeah. Riley says it's weird. Tara, do you have a second to talk about being an artist?
Yeah, so I am an artist with the Atomic Pixies. And I do, we have some comics up online webtoon, and I also make enamel pens, and when cons happen, I sell my art at conventions too. Right now, that is not happening as much, but if you ever get a chance to go to Denver Pop Culture Con, I always have a table there selling my prints and my comics and stuff. Yeah, and I'm always happy to answer any art questions, although I think we've only got 3 minutes, so they'd have to go very, very fast. Yeah, it would be because it's for Percy to ride.
So, Tara. Oh, I don't know. Is somebody talking?
I think we have some. Here we go.
Background. Okay.
There we go.
I was just going to say, I wanted to thank everybody for coming, and Tara and Candy especially. You guys are experts at like how to make our own stories and merging mythology with real life, just like Rick Riordan does. And I loved the activity of us building our own mythical creatures. That was like perfect. Like we planned it or something. So I really appreciate it. And thank you guys, kids, for hopping on and joining us. And if you guys see me in the library, when we're back open, we can totally talk even more about Percy Jackson, because I love all things Riordan. So
you guys were great. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Good questions and comments. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody have a good day. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.